My name is Mildred Mendez, 25 years old. That morning, I truly believed my life was finally shifting towards something brighter. I had an actual interview, with a tech startup downtown. The kind of opportunity I'd dreamed about during endless nights of waiting tables, folding stock in retail stores, and scrolling through job boards until my eyes ached. I woke early, steam rising from the iron as I pressed my blazer, rehearsing my answers in the mirror until my voice sounded calm, capable, new. For the first time in years, hope didn't feel fragile. It felt possible. Sunlight filtered through the blinds in slanted stripes, dust drifting, like tiny golden threads. My room smelled faintly of coffee and determination, but then came the sound of heels clicking down the hallway, sharp, rhythmic, familiar. Chloe didn't knock. She never did. She waltzed in, brushing her honey blonde hair with one hand and sipping a caramel drink from Starbucks with the other sunglasses still on inside the house. "I need you to take me to the mall by noon," she said, tone flat. "Practice like issuing a command to a personal assistant?" "I can't," I said while slipping printed resumes into a slim portfolio. "My interview's at 12:30 downtown." She blinked as if she hadn't heard correctly. "No, take me first. I told my friends I'd be there. You can call them and change plans. You can call your little interview people and push it." She smiled faintly as if that settled it. I stopped. "You want me to cancel a job interview?" "I waited months for, so you can shop for makeup." She rolled her eyes, a gesture she'd perfected through years of indulgence. "You've applied to 1,000 jobs. You'll get another interview. My girls are only meeting today." She turned to leave, expecting obedience. That was always her rhythm demand: dismiss, disappear. I followed her downstairs. "Chloe, I'm not missing this interview." She didn't even turn around. "I'll tell Dad." Those 3 words were her favorite weapon, and they landed like a curse. My pulse jumped, because we both knew she wouldn't need to explain. Dad always took her side, always saw my resistance as rebellion. 2 minutes later, his footsteps thundered down the hallway, each step a warning. He entered the kitchen, jaw-set eyes already burning. "What's this nonsense I'm hearing?" "You're refusing to take your sister." "I have my interview today," I said quietly. "This is the first shot I've gotten in months." He laughed, a short, cruel sound that cut through me. "Your sister actually has a future. She needs to connect socially. Those girls, their parents have money, influence, they matter." The air between us felt thick. "So my life doesn't—" He took 2 strides forward until his face hovered inches from mine. "Her future matters. Yours never did." Something inside me recoiled and hardened at the same time. Then, without warning, he shoved me backward. My shoulder slammed against the hallway wall, the picture frame behind me cracking in half. My knees hit the floor. For a moment, the world tilted. I could hear the chandelier humming above its crystals, trembling, like they too feared him. Chloe leaned against the counter, chewing gum like it was a show. Mom appeared from the dining room, expression calm, detached. "Why must you always cause trouble, Mildred?" I couldn't even answer. My breath shook, but no sound came out. I just stared at the floor, at the fractured glass at my feet. Dad loomed over me. "You will take her. That interview means nothing. Nobody important wants you." His words burned worse than the bruise forming under my shoulder. But this time, something inside me didn't break. It crystallized. I rose slowly, ignoring the pain. "I'm leaving," I said. "Right now, for my interview." Dad barked a harsh laugh. "Try it. Walk out that door. You'll regret it." Chloe smirked. Mom folded her arms. I grabbed my keys from the counter and moved toward the door. Dad blocked it, broad and immovable, like a wall built from every childhood humiliation he'd ever dealt me. For a moment, I almost faltered. Then I reached for my phone. Not to call him, but someone else. Someone who actually saw me. "Who are you calling?" he demanded. I didn't answer. The call connected almost instantly. Mildred Harper's voice, steady alert, filled my ear. "I need a ride," I whispered. "He's trying to stop me." "I'm on my way," she said. 10 minutes. Don't go back inside." Dad's hand clenched, confusion flashing in his eyes at my defiance. I stepped past him, my heart pounding, but this time the fear carried a new edge resolve. I walked down the driveway as he shouted behind me, his voice breaking in disbelief that control had finally slipped through his fingers. The air outside was cold, almost metallic. Each breath stung, but it felt cleaner than anything inside that house. Harper pulled up in her silver SUV exactly 10 minutes later, punctual as always. She rolled down the window, eyes narrowing, when she saw the bruise forming on my shoulder. What did they do this time? They tried to make me cancel my interview for Chloe's shopping trip. Dad shoved me, told me my future never mattered. Harper exhaled, jaw tight. "Get in. We're not giving them another chance to take anything from you. We drove downtown. I stared out the window, the suburbs shrinking behind us like a landscape I'd already outgrown. Inside the company's glass and steel lobby, I adjusted my collar, steadied my breath. The interview lasted 47 minutes. I answered every question with calm precision. By the end, I saw something flicker in the hiring director's eyes: respect. When we stepped outside, sunlight spilled across the marble steps. For once, I felt I belonged somewhere beyond that suffocating house. Back in the SUV, my phone buzzed endlessly. 37 unread messages, all from Chloe. You just ruined everything. Dad's furious. You're dead to us when you come home. I hope that job spits you out like trash. I typed one line in response: I'm not coming home. And I meant it. Harper's apartment smelled of cinnamon and old books. She handed me a clean t-shirt and insisted I shower. When I caught sight of myself in the mirror, the bruise on my shoulder had darkened, shaped almost like a handprint, a reminder of who they'd decided I was supposed to be and who I refused to remain. Later that night, Harper came into the living room holding her laptop, her expression tense. Mildred, you need to see this. She opened an email from HR. The hiring director wanted to schedule a follow-up call. My heart lifted. But then she pulled up another message forwarded from a recruiter. Your father called here, the recruiter had written. He said you're unstable, dangerous to hire, that you attacked him this morning. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My chest hollowed out. He hadn't just tried to stop me. He'd tried to erase me. Harper's voice steadied the air. They just crossed a line. If you don't fight back, they'll destroy your name before it even begins. I looked at the bruise again, then at her screen. I felt my pulse slow, the panic cooling into something sharper. This wasn't about one interview anymore. It was about survival. And for the first time in my life, I realized I could fight smart. The next morning, sunlight leaked through Harper's blinds, cutting the room into bright slices. I hadn't really slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the email again, the recruiter's words, my father's lies. I'd spent years convincing myself that his cruelty was contained inside our house, that beyond those walls, the world was neutral ground. But now he'd dragged that poison into my future. Harper was already at the kitchen table, laptop open, coffee untouched. I pulled everything she said. Her tone was calm, almost too calm. The recruiter sent me the full chain. He forwarded your father's voicemail. You need to hear it. She pressed play. The sound was unmistakable, his voice smug and slurred with confidence. She's unpredictable, he said. Volatile. You don't want someone like her around your team. He mentioned his position on the chamber board, his corporate affiliations, as if they were credentials to make his slander credible. It wasn't just an attack, it was premeditated. My hands trembled, but I forced myself to listen to the entire thing. Each word felt like another nail sealing the box he'd always tried to bury me in. When it ended, Harper slid a folder across the table. I downloaded copies. The recruiter also attached internal notes documenting your father's interference. This isn't just unethical, it's harassment. I stared at the folder but didn't touch it. He called them twice, I murmured. He couldn't just let me go quietly. He needed to make sure the world saw me the way he does. Harper leaned forward. Then we show the world who he really is. We spent the next few hours building our case. Harper knew the system policy violations, corporate compliance, reputational risk. I watched her fingers fly across the keyboard while she drafted the formal complaint, calm, precise, clinical. No anger, just facts and evidence. Every line we wrote felt like reclaiming a piece of air I'd been denied. By mid-afternoon, we had everything: the recruiter's email, the voicemail transcript, screenshots of Chloe's texts, and a summary of every incident. Harper read through it one final time, then turned the laptop toward me. You sure? I nodded. He's been untouchable my whole life. It's time someone touched back with proof. She hit send. For a moment, the silence after was almost holy. The next 48 hours blurred. There were calls from HR, formal acknowledgments meetings scheduled. Then came the phrase I hadn't dared hope for: an investigation has been opened. I thought I'd feel triumphant, but what I felt instead was exhausted, like I'd been holding my breath for years and had finally run out of oxygen. Harper kept reminding me to eat to sleep, to let the process unfold, but part of me couldn't stop imagining my father's reaction when the call came: the disbelief, the panic, the scramble for control. 3 days later, the company's compliance officer requested a statement from me. The meeting took place over video. The woman on the screen had a kind voice, but her questions were sharp. I answered everything honestly, every detail of that morning, every shove, every lie. When I finished, she said quietly, "We take this very seriously, Ms. Mendez. I'm sorry you had to experience it." When the call ended, I felt drained but lighter. For the first time, someone had heard my story without twisting it against me. A week passed, then two. I tried not to obsess, but each day the tension pulsed beneath everything. Then one morning, Harper opened her inbox and exhaled sharply. "Mildred," they responded. I read the message twice before it sank in. "The company has suspended external liaison activities with Mr. Mendez pending internal review." He'd been stripped of access, his role under scrutiny. The chamber board was notified. His name, the one he'd wielded like a sword, was now attached to an investigation report. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just sat at Harper's table and stared at the screen until tears blurred the text. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. "I think I am," I said. "Just not the kind of okay I expected." It wasn't victory. It was a quiet correction of balance. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. It was the company that had interviewed me. The HR manager's tone was formal but warm. "Ms. Mendez, we want to apologize for what happened. Your application has been reinstated. The position is yours, if you're still interested." I had to steady my voice before I answered. "Yes, I'm interested." That night, Harper and I celebrated with takeout and cheap wine. The relief was real, but fragile. I knew this wasn't over, not emotionally. 2 days later, Mom called. Her voice wavered between panic and practiced calm. "Mildred, your father's lost his consultancy. They're investigating his board memberships. We don't know what to do." For years, I dreamed of hearing her sound this uncertain. Now that it was real, it didn't feel satisfying. It felt hollow. "You made your choices," I said quietly. "You can fix them." "Mildred, please. You know your father, he's under pressure. We're losing everything." I almost laughed. Everything to her meant reputation invitations, their perfect facade. To me, it had always meant freedom. "I can't help you," I said finally. "You don't get to set my life on fire and then ask me to save you from the smoke." She started to cry softly, but I ended the call. That night, I packed a suitcase. Harper helped me load it into her car. My lease on a small, downtown apartment began the next morning. The place was tiny, just one window and a kitchenette, but when I walked in, it felt enormous. It was mine. The bruise on my shoulder had faded to yellow by then, a faint echo of what I'd survived. Sometimes I'd catch sight of it and touch the spot gently, not as a wound, but as proof. A month later, a letter arrived at my new address. It was from Dad's employer, an official statement revoking his external advisory role for ethical misconduct and reputational breach. I sat on the floor and read it twice. Then I folded it neatly and slid it into the drawer beside my bed, not as a trophy, but as closure. In the weeks that followed, Chloe stopped texting. Friends who used to orbit her family began pulling away. Dad's name disappeared from the chamber website. The silence from their house was complete. Sometimes late at night, I'd wonder if he ever felt remorse, or if he simply saw me now as the traitor who'd learned his own language of power and used it against him. But mostly I didn't wonder at all. I poured myself into work. The office was bright and bustling, the kind of place where people smiled because they meant it. My boss trusted me with projects. Colleagues respected me. I wasn't the daughter of anyone anymore. One evening, as I locked up my desk, Harper stopped by the doorway. "You did it," she said. I looked up. "We did it." She smiled. "You know you could have walked away, but you chose to confront it. That's what changed everything." I thought about that long after she left, because she was right, leaving had freed me, but confronting had defined me. That night I stood on my apartment balcony, the city lights flickering below. The air smelled like rain and possibility. I didn't need revenge anymore. I'd already rewritten my place in the story. When the final HR email arrived, a permanent offer and a relocation package, I smiled, closed my laptop, and didn't look back. The bruise had healed. The silence no longer scared me. For the first time in my life, I was free. Not because they'd lost, but because I'd finally chosen myself.